So we're back working on this 2015 GMC Sierra. It's a 1500 with a 5.3. It's got a problem with fuel trim P219B on which is fuel trim imbalance bank 2. It shows negative fuel trims on both banks, but bank 2 is the worst. I tried swapping the O2 sensors back and forth, side to side, and it didn't make any difference. It still set the same fault code. It stumbles under light acceleration. It has occasionally set a random misfire code, but most of the misfires show up on cylinder number 6. I've got a previous video. This is part 2 now. I'm going to go in and replace the high pressure fuel injectors, and we're going to walnut shell blast the intake ports while we have the intake manifold off. This will be the first Chevy or GMC that I'm doing the walnut shell blasting, so this is going to be interesting to say the least. I'll bring you along as we go. I'll put a link to part 1 in the description of the video. Yeah, first thing we're going to do is set up the scanner and relieve the high pressure fuel pressure. So here's the bidirectional tests on this Chevy truck or GMC truck, and we're going to go in and depressurize the fuel system. Going to start and idle the engine. And I gather what this thing is going to do is shut down the low pressure fuel pump and basically run it out of fuel. Enable. Well, that was pretty quick. So remove the air induction system between the air filter mass airflow sensor here and the throttle body. And of course we have to remove the intake manifold, so unclip all the wiring harnesses on both sides. I thought I could remove this plastic cover, but it won't come off, so turns out you can leave it on there and take it off with the intake manifold. That's what these access holes are for. Poor engineering. Don't have to take this cover off, but I loosened it off. Disconnect the wiring harnesses or the connectors from the throttle body assembly and the purge solenoid and the map sensor, and we'll actually go in through these holes to remove these bolts that hold the intake manifold down. So as I said before, leave this plastic cosmetic cover sound deadener on there with 4 bolts, and you can access the intake manifold bolts through the holes. There are 5 on each side, 1 in the front corner here and 1 in the very back corner back here. The bolts don't come out, but you'll have to lift the manifold up and pull it forward. Disconnect the PCV hose at the front and leave it attached because it's a rigid plastic hose, so it doesn't come off very conveniently. But if you disconnect it at the what I believe is the PCV valve there, it should come off. So now that we got the manifold off, we'll set that off to the side and take off the sound deadener and access the fuel rail. So remove the high pressure and low pressure fuel lines. For the low pressure fuel line, you need this release tool. For the high pressure fuel lines, just a 17 mil wrench. So there's the lifter valley area. Fuel lines removed. I'm going to cap off the high pressure fuel pump at the back there, and I guess we'll remove the rail. I think we can disconnect the main harness at the very back on each side of the fuel rail, very back here, and leave the I don't know if I don't imagine the injectors are going to come out with the fuel rail. They probably stick in the head, but we'll see. So the right hand fuel rail came out pretty easy because it had been recently off, and I noticed 2 of the injectors stay in the head and 2 of the injectors came out. Number 6 and number 1 came out. 2 of the clips were missing, and I wondered why would they be missing, and I realize now because they never took the other 2 injectors out of the head when they pulled the fuel rail. These clips that hold the injectors to the rail here cannot be removed in the truck, and they keep the injector from rotating, hold it in that location, but it requires that you pull all 4 injectors out simultaneously, and they don't come out. This rail came off because it had been out before, but the one on the driver's side, working on this thing for at least 2 hours now, finally ended up bending the clip, these clips here, bending it out of the way, and left these 2 injectors. You can see how tight these are. So I managed to get the 2 forward ones out, and now I'm trying to get the 2 back ones out. Oh well, a couple more hours. So that was number 5. Number 7 was 1 and 3 stayed in the fuel rail on that side, but I couldn't get number 5 and 7 out with the rail, so I managed to get the clip off with an air chisel, believe it or not, and then left these 2 injectors in the cylinder head, as you saw, twisted them back and forth, sprayed penetrating fluid on the bottom. This one I finally broke it off and grabbed it with the electric drill, cordless drill, and spun it, rotated it several hundred times to get it out of the cylinder, out of the combustion chamber, or out of the cylinder head. So we're going to clean up the ports now. We've got to make sure each intake valve is closed, and we're going to walnut shell blast the intake ports to remove the carbon deposits from the intake valves. So I'm going to try and show you what it looks like in this intake port. It's pretty hard to see down there. It's like the black hole. There's the intake valve. You can see the carbon deposits on it. Doesn't show up very good on the camera here. There you can see the head of the valve. So we have to make sure each intake port is, that one's not bad. You can see that one doesn't look too bad. You have to make sure the intake valve is closed. And this side faces forward, but that side faces back. And then we're going to sandblast these with crushed walnut shells. So we're going to start with number 1 because that happens to be closed right now. So there's the injector part number, and each injector comes with a bag of 4 O-rings and 6 additional injector O-rings, because obviously if you take these injectors out to change one, you have to take all 4 out, and you can't reuse these nylon O-rings or Teflon O-rings. Now the new injectors come with the O-rings installed on them, so you really don't need these if you're going to change them all. So these are kind of redundant. We do need one of these seals that goes at the base of the injector here, but we don't need the other 3, so we got a bunch of extra parts, but they come in a kit. And then of course there's the intake gaskets. So we'll get set up tomorrow to put this back together again. Okay, so I've got a couple of intake ports done. Let's see if we can see in here. See what it looks like now. It's a lot cleaner. Like I said, the crushed walnut shells, if there's any fine residue left over, it's not abrasive, so it won't damage the cylinders, piston rings. It smells like peanuts when it's running after, I think, maybe. So we just keep continuing on. I got the first 2 ports done here. Stuff them full of rags to keep anything from falling in there. Here's my setup. Got a shop vac, sandblaster with walnut shells in it, adapters to the intake port. I'll show you if we can see a number 5 intake port here. See the carbon deposits on the back of the valve. That's where we're going to go in. Now when it's really bad like that, I'll pick it off with a pick first and vacuum it out before I start spraying walnut shells in there. Just keep working it around. The vacuum cleaner sucks 99.9% of the sawdust up. Shut off the vacuum cleaner. And then have a look in the fourth with a flashlight. Where's my flashlight though? Oh, I lost my flashlight. Some very, very fine around the base of the valve seat. I'm using a pick to loosen off the walnut shell particles. Here, we'll have a look and see how it looks. So you can see that it's pretty clean now. And we'll move on to the next one. Only 5 more to go. So there's all the intake ports cleaned. All the bosses for the injectors cleaned. I used a 295 thou drill bit and wire brush to clean the injector holes. And we're going to assemble the fuel rail. Looks pretty clean in there. And put the fuel rails back in now. So there's the new injectors installed in the left rail. Blow out these electrical connectors and put some dielectric grease around the circumference of the seal. I've put dielectric grease on the O-ring seals at the top and a little bit on the Teflon seals on the bottom, as well as the gaskets. We're ready to install this rail. So as I said, I put dielectric grease on these O-ring seals. How come it doesn't want to come out of here? Make sure the connectors are oriented in the right location. Now we turn it over and we put these clips on. Now what I did with these clips is I put them on with a pair of channel locks, because you got to squeeze them down. They actually have a special tool for this, but the channel locks seem to work. Yeah, gotta widen the channel locks a little bit. Oh, now they're too wide. Watch you don't damage the harness on the other side. And you got to make sure that the clip is locked in the right spot. Then we'll put some dielectric grease on the connector. Snap the connector in place. Listen for it to click. And then lock it in place. Do the rest of them like that. So there's both fuel rails installed and the electrical plugs connected at the back. The torque on those 4 injector rails is 18 foot-pounds. Make sure you bolt them down evenly, one at a time. GM does not recommend to put silicone on the Teflon rings on the injectors. Other manufacturers do. That's why I went ahead and did that. I'm sure it's not going to hurt anything. Reconnect the low pressure fuel line, quick connectors, and torque the little 6mm bolts down. We're ready to clean up the manifold, change the O-ring gaskets on it, and drop it in there. So there's the manifold blown dry and new silicone seals. A little bit of dielectric grease on each one of them. The bolts will fall out if you turn the manifold upside down, so I'm going to turn it right side up and reinstall the bolts in there. And we're ready to drop it on. So there's the manifold back on and all of the wires connected, vacuum lines connected. Manifold bolts are torqued to 89 inch-pounds, starting from the center and working to the ends, crisscross. Initial torque of 44 inch-pounds and then 89. So it's not very tight. You need an inch-pound torque wrench for that. So we're going to put the air induction system back on and fire it up. So there it is, back together and running again. Seems smooth. Stumbled a little bit while it purged the air out of the injectors, but it seems good now. We're going to reset the fuel trims and have a look at the fuel trim data. So we're looking at the short-term and long-term fuel trim now at an idle. Long-term on bank 1 is -9. Bank 2 is -5. Before it was like 25 and 30. So we're going to take this for a drive tomorrow, probably into town and back. Make sure all the monitors run and pass. And we'll see how it is.